What's up, guys? Today, we're talking about Before They Are Hanged by Joe Abercrombie. I do believe that this book was published back in 2007. I could be wrong, but we're just going to say 2007. It is book number 2 in the First Law trilogy. The book number 1 being The Blade itself, and maybe some of you caught my Let's Talk video on that book, and I know it comes off like I have quite a critical view or maybe a mixed bag of feelings towards The Blade itself, and yes, that is true, but I will say, in this book, everything gets turned up, and a lot of the issues I have in book 1 all get cleared up. Before I get started, though, real quick, I just want to say this was a buddy read with my friend Gregory LaPerche. I'll put his channel down in the description. Real quick, I just want to give him a shout out because, guys, honestly, I don't know if I would have got back to this trilogy as soon as I did if it wasn't for him suggesting it. So go give him a check out. Let's get started. When the book begins, we're really just picking up from where we left off in book 1. And we start with the Dog Man. And now he's just kind of wandering this battlefield that's really more like a massacre. And this is really when you start to get a little taste of kind of how the Union is its own worst enemy. You know, it's like their arrogance. The nobles are the ones really running the show, and they're all just way too arrogant to wrap their minds around the fact that maybe that the savage barbarians are actually very battle savvy. This basically gets the Union caught with their pants down time and time again. And so, like I said, we start in the Dogman and basically crew, like Three Trees, blacked out, all of them. They're really seeing the aftermath of the arrogance of the Union. Just bodies everywhere. We'll also pick up with Column West, who is Major West, who will become Colonel West in this story. And honestly, I really do appreciate what Abercrombie did with West's character in this book. I really feel like all of the characters, maybe like the mid-tier, the characters I just didn't care about that much in book 1, all got some good shine in this book. And my opinion of all of them changed dramatically. West's character is definitely one of those that changed a lot in my opinion. I just love what Joe Abercrombie did with his character here. When he starts out in this book, he's basically, with the Union. They're trying to strategize a battle plan against the barbarians. They got their armies really on 2 major fronts, but there's this other part that needs to be kind of, attended to. But being the stupid Union, they decide, hey, this is a good idea. Let's throw our Prince Ladislav, up on this front. And that way we can heap loads of glory on him afterwards. This is only going to help him when he comes into being a king. So they attach West with Prince Ladislav and put him on this front that's just kind of nothing supposed to happen. But realistically, it's just a nightmare that ensues from here. And this is really, like I said, once again, you get another taste of the arrogance of the Union and just why they're losing this fucking battle. It's painful almost to read. And then, you get somebody like West, who is not a noble. Yes, he's got kind of a high rank, but he's the smartest guy out there. Another thing I can appreciate with West's character here is, like I said, in book 1, he was definitely like our white and shining knight. Yes, he has that instance with his sister, but he definitely still feels shame and guilt. It carries through to the reader into book 2 here. But yeah, West is definitely our good guy, but Abercrombie just drags him through the mud in this one. I mean it, dude. West gets down and dirty. Then we pick up with Glocka, who has just arrived in Dagoska. He's been sent down there by the Archlector Sult, and he's trying to figure out what happened to the last superior there, as well as he's trying to defend an undefendable situation, trying to hold Dagoska from the Gurkish. This is where Glocka really hits his stride. I mean, he gets elbow room in this one, baby. Basically, he's calling the shots now. He's down in Dagoska. Yes, he's still under the thumb of the Archlector and the Inquisition, but man, they're a long ways away in the Union. and it's just so much fun to see Glocka take charge. Like, this is really kind of what I wanted to see a little bit more of in book one, and I think, like I said earlier, everything is turned up in this book, man, and the torture scenes definitely got a lot more juicy, and I could appreciate that. As well as some stuff with Glocka. You know, one of the main things I think from the Blade itself that I loved so much about Glocka really was his relationships with his practicals. They were just so much fun, especially the one between him and Frost. Now in this book, Glocka is gonna, he's forced to form new relationships, especially while trying to defend the city. He's going to need to rely on people he normally wouldn't want to. One of my favorite relationships that is newly formed in this book is the one between Casca and Glocka. Now, Casca is basically like the leader of the mercenaries here in Dagoska, but he has such a pirate personality, and he's just a lot of fun to read. Their back and forth is so good, and I think my favorite discussion that they had together had to do with excrement and spikes. We also pick up with the rest of our core characters, Bayaz, Malachus Quai, Longfoot, Pharaoh Malgin, Giselle Dan Luther, and Logan Ninefingers. Now, they are on basically a quest. It's more like a wild goose chase that Bayaz has, selected them specifically for, but they're, still kind of unaware exactly what the fuck they're doing. And every time that they ask Bayaz a question, he really just gives them those breadcrumb answers. Grumpy old Bayaz. Now, this part of the story was extremely enjoyable personally for me, and I have to say that the character Logan Ninefingers, his stock went way up in my book. This part of the story, Logan Ninefingers is such an integral part of this group, and he is the major catalyst in the change in our other characters. So if you didn't like something about a character from book one, there's a good chance it changed here in book two, and Logan Ninefingers is almost, completely responsible for that because he's such a good leader. He's going to get you, he's going to get through to you. It might take a little bit, but he's going to find a way to get through to you. He'll get you to drop your guard, lower those walls, so he can really kind of touch base and communicate and relate, and now you're on the same page and you're fighting together. It's so well done. It's very well nuanced. I really loved the relationship between Logan and Giselle Dan Luther, and also as Logan and Pharaoh. They were just so well done. Giselle definitely shines in this book to me. I mean, really, I loved him from book one. But in this book, man, we really see him lower his guard. We really see him kind of get humanized in this book. He definitely gets a huge slice of humble pie. And I really liked reading this because, honestly, even if Giselle hadn't changed, I still would have enjoyed him. But I appreciated this part of his arc. I think almost because I understood, other people are going to start to like this character. I mean, he just starts to become a good man. And Pharaoh Malgin, man, I was surprised because if you watched my Let's Talk video on the Blade itself, Pharaoh gave me anxiety, basically, every time she talked, just because she was so aggressive. So aggressive. But like I said, because of Logan Ninefingers and his work within the group, we see a softer side of Pharaoh. And, we also get to learn a little bit more about her history and where she comes from. And we get to see this, more than meets the eye thing with her, what we kind of got to see with Logan in the first book. Now we're kind of getting to see it with Pharaoh Malgin in book two. And as far as the other two characters like Longfoot and Malachus Quai, they might be the two characters that I just didn't have too much of an opinion change. I know I said everybody, but those two maybe not so much. I will say I feel like Malachus Quai has gotten a bit more defiant. He definitely seems to be a little bit more hard than he was in book one. But it might just be that he's just, bitter or something. He is the apprentice of Bayaz. And Longfoot is still just our cheerful navigator, who can be, seen as annoying just because there's nobody with that bubbly kind of personality in this world. I'm still on the fence with Longfoot. So this book is still a very character-driven story, but man, it's just, we have so much more movement here than in book one. Yes, obviously, book one is the setup, and this is where it all pays off. every one of our players here is getting their own role, and they're getting plenty of action and plenty of story, and it's just so enjoyable. This is a night and day feeling from going from book 1 to book 2, just personally for me, and I'm really glad that I'm feeling it right now because, you know, I understand now why everyone's just like, oh, the First Law trilogy, so great. It certainly seems to be heading in that direction now for me. Remember, I had a kind of an issue with the tone in book 1. I feel like now the tone is definitely going in the right direction of that number 1 spot. I don't know if it's there yet, but gosh, it's so like, I have no complaints about the tone whatsoever in book 2. Plenty dark, plenty good, yum yum yum, great. The action in the book, it's not lacking. It's that Abercrombie action. I mean, I think that he's really well known for being able to pull this kind of stuff off, right? In book 1, the Bloody Nines appearance was probably one of the best action like sequences I've ever like read in a book, you know? And now carrying into book 2, trust me, there is action through and through from beginning to end. That is that visceral ride that'll make the hair stand up on your, you know, on your skin, give you that goose flesh, make your stomach churn, and then just delight you all at the same time. Can't really say enough for Abercrombie's action. He's one of the greats. Another thing I think Abercrombie amplified and just pulled off really well in this book is that black as night grimdark humor. I laughed out loud I don't even know how many times while reading this book. Yeah, it has those visceral, like, gut-churning moments, but it also has the best, like, gallows humor at times that you just can't help but chuckle. It's really fun, and it gives this book it gives a levity to a very dark tale, and it's much appreciated. So after finishing the book, I have to say I'm really digging the direction it's going. I feel like it's going in the right direction now versus just kind of standing stagnant. Though, let's face it, that's a character setup. All that setup paid off big time in this book. So it's hard for me to knock either one anymore at this moment. Because remember, it's not even really about book 1, book 2, or book 3. It's all one story, guys. Let's remember that. But yeah, Abercrombie kicked ass in this one. All my gripes from book 1 are pretty much squashed now at this moment. So I'm extremely satisfied with this read, and obviously I'm going to recommend it. For those slow and struggling readers, the struggling readers, like I said in the Let's Talk video, I don't think that the First Law trilogy is a great place for you to start out. It doesn't have a very straightforward narrative. Joe Abercrombie is a very descriptive writer. He's got that classical fantasy kind of style, which can trip you up. There's plenty of stuff here to kind of snag you. But if you're at that place where you're ready for a challenge, by all means, get your First Law on. And slow readers, guys, once again, if you're into that gritty, dark, like fantasy, if you're into grimdark, this is worth your time. Just know you're committed to 3 books because that's the story. All right? Right on, guys. Man, I'm really glad. I've had to record this a couple times. The last one, I was just a sweaty mess and it was gross. I forgot. And I forgot to throw my shout out to Gregory. So hey guys, really appreciate your time. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for all the likes. Thanks for everything you're doing for me. I really do appreciate it. If you're new, please like and subscribe. And keep an eye out. We'll be ending this sucker at the next month. All right. Later, guys. Peace.